Around to this class to give it some context. About 20 years ago, it's been 20 years since this class began, I noticed that Mashiach has like a major PR problem. For some reason, it's a strange phenomena, but Mashiach's got like a bad rap. I broke it down into three major causes. The first, hello, welcome. The first is what I call Mashiachophobia. Okay, Mashiachophobia, I don't know if it applies to anyone here in this room, but there are certain types of young men and young women who are terrified about Mashiach's coming. The classic cliche would be a Beis Yaakov girl who was terrorized by one of her teachers. I cannot make this up. I once spoke in a Beis Yaakov, and afterwards a mother called me up to thank me that her daughter could now be taken off therapy. She used to have literal nightmares about Mashiach coming. Mashiach basically was described to her as the whole world is going to be, as we say in Israel, a huge balagan, chaos, and there's going to be wars. And she had one of those teachers, I call these teachers dementors. For those of you who don't know about Harry Potter, so after the book 7 was finished, everyone went on to their ways, whatever they did. We found out who got married to who. There's like a little thing at the end that tells you what happened. But what you do not know is what happened to the Dementors. I found out. Apparently, they were hired by the Beis Yaakov movement. And their job is to make sure that every young girl feels totally and completely inadequate in her Yiddishkeit, and that Mashiach is not coming for the likes of her. Honestly, these people should be removed from the gene pool of educators, and it is criminal what they're doing on many different levels. I just want you to know that in my story, I'm going to make Mashiach as exciting as possible. I'm going to make sure that no one dies. It's going to be positive. I'm going with the arm of bells. The bells the Rebbe said after the Holocaust that all the sad and frightening part of the coming of Mashiach is already behind us. That happened between 1939 and 1945, and now comes the fun stuff. So I'm going to go and weave a path that's going to make those people afraid of Mashiach no longer afraid, excited for his coming. Secondly, there's another group called the Mashiach fanatics. Yeah, Mashiach fanatics are people who are obsessed with Mashiach, but it borders into the paranoid. Going back to Corona, remember Corona? Remember those days? So that first Pesach, that Corona Pesach, I actually had a girl in one of my classes that came out to me and said to me, Rabbi Nissel, I promise you that Mashiach is coming this Pesach. He has to come this Pesach. And I told her, I promise you that Mashiach is not coming this Pesach. And everyone looks at me and says, what's your problem, Rabbi? I said, it's not my problem. I learned this from Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, after the war, was in Toronto, and there was a Jew there who kept nothing but believed in Mashiach. And a certain rabbi went up to him and said to him, if you start keeping Shabbos, if you keep Shabbat, he says, you will no longer have to worry about Mashiach. In your schus, Mashiach's going to come this year. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky told him, no, Mashiach's not going to come this year. Don't even bother. And his Rebbetzin said, what is going on? What do you care if this person starts keeping Shabbos? And he answered, he answered. He says, if Mashiach comes, no one's going to be upset with me. But if he doesn't come, so the one mitzvah that this guy was holding on to, he's going to lose. And the Rambam actually paskins lahalacha, he brings this down as a law, that it is forbidden to give Mashiach a date, what's called be machashev kitzim. You're not allowed to say he's going to come at a specific moment. The belief in Mashiach is very, very simple. We believe in his imminence, that he can come at any given moment. He can come right now as I'm speaking, and we want him to come. In other words, we want him to come imminently, but he will come when he comes. That is our essential belief, what's called kivui, that belief that Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to send us the Mashiach at the right moment, is something that is we hold on to as one of the 13 ikrim of our faith. Which brings me to the third category, which I think that maybe I'm not the only person in this room that suffers from. I'm going to see from you averting eye contact if you're falling to the third category. It's called the Mashiach skeptics. Mashiach skeptics are people who says, I believe in Mashiach, but whatever. Basically, if I can describe a Mashiach skeptic, you probably have heard in From Homes, a woman will say to her dear husband, my dear husband, when are you going to change the light bulb? Are you going to wait for Mashiach to come? Now, when you say a line like that, you're basically saying, yeah, there's a thing called Mashiach, but it's like in the long, distant future. And when he comes, hopefully he's not going to mess up my plans because I'm going to south of France this summer, so I don't want Mashiach to come till the end of the summer. And then next year I'm finishing, where is she? My law degree friend. Okay, I'll let her at least face I get my law degree. You know what, Hashem, you want Mashiach to fit into your little narrative, so that's also not good. We want Mashiach to come right now. We need to deeply, deeply understand that what happens when Mashiach comes is not just the world will be better, is that the world will literally be on a different dimension. It's like getting a sixth sense. We'll be able to appreciate things, see things, understand things on a totally different level, and the world will become beautiful in a way that is completely and totally unfathomable. Can we get this young lady a chair? So before I begin my story, I just want to add just a few more points about how this story is going to work. I wrote this story, and as I already mentioned, I went through every single Mari Mokum, every single Chazal, every single rabbinical source, and I weaved a path of concepts about Mashiach that I felt that you and I could relate to. So, for example, the Rambam says that Mashiach's going to come down, and Mashiach's going to come, and we are going to build the third Beis HaMikdash. The Bali Tosfos say, no, it's going to come down, it's going to come down from heaven. So in my story, we actually build the third Beis HaMikdash, because building something is something that you and I can relate to it. Comprende, señorita, you with me? How's the pizza? It's good stuff. So, just to summarize, for those that just joined us, many years ago, about 20 years ago, I sat down with my rabbi, Rav Moshe Shapira, and I asked him, is it okay if I tell over a story of what it's going to be like when Mashiach comes? I try and make it as exciting and as beautiful as possible. And you and I secretly know that when it happens, it's going to be a million times more beautiful. A million times more beautiful. But at least, maybe, I can get one person in the room excited about the Melech HaMashiach. So you know what he said? He said, anyone who davens a Shemona Esrei, if you daven a Shemona Esrei, I have to daven 3 times a day. You do it once or twice, whatever you do. When you daven a Shemona Esrei, without realizing, you probably are saying a lie to Hashem. Molly, I'm not accusing you of being a liar, because we're all in this together. You say, this is the last request before Shema Kolenu. Hashem, let the Davidic dynasty sprout. If you did not know that David HaMelech was bald, now you know. Let the Davidic dynasty sprout. The Karna term, B'shuasecha, let his horn expand with your salvation. And then we add the following words. Ki lishuascha kivinu kol hayom. Translate somebody. Ki lishuascha kivinu kol hayom. What does it mean? Law student. What does it mean? For your salvation, kivinu, we await. What does kol hayom mean? All day long. Is that right? Who here can honestly say that they are awaiting Mashiach all day long? Not getting personal, all day long. So even if you want to say, which by the way is the correct translation, the word all day long does not mean at any given moment. Because at any given moment you should be, so if you're driving, you should not be thinking about Mashiach. If you're a surgeon, you should not be thinking about Mashiach. It means that Mashiach is central to my life. That is what we are supposed to believe in. Mashiach is central to our life. I like to think, I just came back from America last night, a little bit jet lagged. But I like to think that Mashiach is central to my life the same way that my wife is central to my life. To my life. What do I mean by that? If I'm in America and my wife is in Israel, I see a beautiful sunset. I say, I wish Debbie would be here to watch this with me. It's beautiful, Rabbi. Or I see I go past a shopping mall, I see there's 50% sales. I say, Baruch Hashem, my wife's not here. All these kind of things are basically, when someone is important to you, then everything you see and everything you do connects to that person who is important to you. I promise you there's at least one girl in this room that as I speak to you, your mother is thinking about you. Am I right? Because that's it. She's obsessed with you in a healthy way. You are central to her existence, and therefore you are constantly on her mind. That's the way we're supposed to have Mashiach. And guess what? When you are 120 years old, you go up to heaven, there are 6 questions. The Gemara in Shabbos brings down, there are 6 questions that we get asked. One of the 6 is, Pisal Yeshua. Did you await Mashiach? Which means, was Mashiach central to your existence? And the Rambam teaches us, Ki Lishuas Kivina Kol Yom is not just a prayer. This is what brings Mashiach. When Mashiach knows that we want him and he wants us, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, I'm removing Midas Hadin, and you can go. So our kivoy, our desiring him to come in any given moment, that is what precipitates his actual coming. And therefore, and with this I end my introduction. Molly, it's going to be fine. With this, I end my introduction. If there is one young lady in this room who after this class will take out her siddur and underline those words in her siddur, Ki Lishuascha Kivina Kol Yom, this whole class would have been worth it, because you're the one that's going to bring the Melech HaMashiach. You see those words and you really mean it, you can be the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back with that heartfelt tefillah for Mashiach to come. So are we sitting comfortably? Yes. Finish the pizza, okay? Do not leave it, or your mama will be upset. It was a beautiful Wednesday evening in Jerusalem. The weather was spectacular, and everyone was going about their ways, their usual ways. And here at the OU Center, young ladies were studying Torah with middle-aged rabbis. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, completely unexpected, Molly comes rushing in. She just heard from the front desk, who heard it from whichever rabbi's in charge over here, who heard it from senior rabbis, who actually could have seen it on television. I don't know how these things are going to work exactly, but there's been a press conference, and it has been announced that the Melech HaMashiach is here, and all the Gedolim have Ki Ish Echad B'Lev Echad together announce that they want every single Jew from every single corner of the world by next Tuesday to make it to Yerushalayim Era Kodesh. Start traveling on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz and be there by next Tuesday to greet the Melech HaMashiach. And you are thinking to yourself, this is insane. Is this kind of like a color war thing? What is going on? Is this some kind of like sick joke? But it's not a sick joke, because your phone is literally ringing away. People are calling you from all over, your family, your friends, your ex-boyfriends. It's all happening, okay? This is all happening. They are calling you, and they are telling you, this is what's going on. It is being covered by every single news station. It's on some BBC and CNN and Fox News, and you name it. They are talking about this announcement in Yerushalayim Era Kodesh, and the average Jew on the planet is thinking the following. I'm a little bit skeptical. I'm not sure if this is real or not, but I'm not going to lose out on a party. And there's probably going to be free food, because there's always free food. Cold pizza, oh yeah, to greet the Melech HaMashiach. There's going to be free food, and on the chance that this is the real thing, I want to make sure I'm there. Before you know it, we are watching the greatest movement of humanity that the world has ever seen. Literally millions of Jews from across the world, across the universe, they're all trying to make it to Yerushalayim by this Tuesday afternoon. Across America, somebody mentioned they're from Los Angeles, California. They're coming from East Coast, West Coast, the South. My wife is from Memphis. They're coming as well. Canadians are coming. South of the border, Mexico, South America. We want Mashiach. This is so exciting. South Africans are coming. Let's go and bring lekker sus and cracker, some Mashiach. Australians are coming. This is my friend Bruce. This is Sheila. Nice to meet you nice. In Europe, the British, jolly good show, dare say what not. Anyone from Mashiach? The French. Avez-vous de fromage et le Mashiach? Oui, oui. Italiano. They come with the mom and the pizza. And the Mashiach and the pizza. The Germans are going 1, 2, 3, yeah, we go to greet the Melech HaMashiach. The Russians come. The Russians say, I am sick of invading Ukraine. I come to Eretz Israel with my mafia connections. And this is happening. We are watching millions of Jews landing in Ben Gurion. Kfish Achad is completely blocked. But as people arrive in Jerusalem, they are greeted by what's called Sadranim. Now, Sadran is a young man. He's got like a thing called Sadran. He's being paid by the Jerusalem municipality. Secretly, you probably know him. He's like a yeshiva dropout. But the point is, yeah, you guys know these. Anyhow, whatever. And he is giving every person as they come in information of where they should stand. Okay, the OU Center is told to be there at the corner of Rehov Yafo and King George. Women on the women's side, men on the men's side. And then you are given a piece of paper which has 5 blessings to say when you see the Melech HaMashiach. 5 barachot. Can anybody guess what's on that piece of paper? No, you can't play. You're not allowed to play over here. Yes, please.
I've seen someone with a fridge magnet that has these brachos.
I always carry this with me. Because, do you know what they are? Okay, I carry with it. This is here it is. Okay, in here I've got this little book. It has the 5 brachos at the end. There are different opinions, but this is from like Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Give a guess. What's your name again? I'm sorry. Madeline. Give a guess.
Maybe you should have me on it.
There we go. There we go. Thank you, Madeline. From LA.
Yeah.
So Madeline from LA tells us, which is like so obvious. Can you think of a more propitious moment to say Shechiyanu, Vihigiyanu, Lazman Azeh Akadosh Baruch Hu? You kept us alive and you brought us to this amazing moment. Then there's 2 blessings. One is for seeing a king, a Jewish king, and the other is for seeing a great Torah scholar. So one is Shechalak mi Chachmoso li'Rev, and the other Shechalak mi Chvodo, right, from his honor to those that fear him. The 4th one is kind of tricky. It's a special blessing for seeing 600,000 Jews in one place. Do you know the name of the blessing? Chacham Harazim. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Chacham Harazim literally means the wise one that knows the secrets. So let me just expand on that just for one moment so it has context. You could be saying this bracha next week. So let's get this down pat. The word Razim is the secrets that every single Jew has inside of him and her. So let me just give you some background over here. Next time you look in the mirror, you'll notice there is no one on the planet that looks like you. If you want, you can look at the girl next to you and notice that she does not look like you. Secretly, you can think to yourself, thank God. But the reason why you look different is because Hashem is giving you a message. You're carrying a secret. You're carrying a secret. That secret is the destiny that you were brought down to this world to bring out. And that is how you fulfill your mission in this world. And by the way, that's the only way that you're going to be truly happy, is by fulfilling your mission. So Chacham, the wise one, is God. Harazim, that knows the secret of every single Jew and how we blend in with each other. That is what the 4th bracha is. The 5th and final blessing, which is so obvious that everyone always forgets it, is the bracha on the redemption. Like, duh. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Go'al Yisrael, who has finally redeemed the Jewish people. Okay, so you guys man your positions. You're there, you're watching millions of Jews. This is a party. Every single person that you know is there. Your family, your friends. Unfortunately, those shidduchim that did not work out, they're all there, one after the other. And this is just incredible. It's the most exciting thing. But then it starts to hush because the procession is beginning down Rehov Yafo. As always, the procession starts late. But here it is, happening. You see those little beautiful Jerusalem kids dressed up on their Shabbos clothing. And they're singing, Yamim al Yamei Mela. And you're taking pictures. They are so cute. And then you notice, oh my gosh, one of them looks just like Rabbi Nissel. Because that's going to be my grandson, Sheftai. He's going to be there, like belting the Mashiach blues over there. And then after that comes a much more refined and more regal procession, you see all of Klal Yisrael's Gedolim. You see them linked in hand by hand, Sephardic, Hasidic, Ashkenazi, you name it, they're all there. All the great Torah leaders, and their faces are beaming with joy. And they too go by. And then you see in the distance what looks like a bright light. You see a light coming towards you. Total silence. No one has to tell you to do this, but on your own, you switch off your phone. Because you know what you're about to see is not something that you want to record. It's something you want to experience to its fullest. And as this light comes closer, you discern that what you are looking at is a human being riding on a simple donkey. And that's like strange. 2023, a man on a donkey, what's going on over here? But then you remember that as a little girl you learned that Avram Avinu rode on a donkey to literally change the world. He was the first person to revert what's called the sin of Adam and Eve, to bring it back to the way it was in the Garden of Eden with the Akedah. Moshe Rabbeinu rides on a donkey to redeem not himself, but all of Klal Yisrael. And now Mashiach is coming riding on a donkey, and the Medrash brings down, it's the same donkey to redeem all of humanity. Now, you don't have to take this literally, because the Maral explains that riding on a donkey means the following. The Hebrew word for donkey is chamor, right? Chamor is the same word as chomer. Chomer means physicality. Riding on a donkey means I am now in control of my physicality. So for example, I, together with most of the planet, am mildly addicted to this thing over here. I know what Molly's thinking. It's kosher, okay? Stop judging me. Okay, this is my smartphone, my kosher smartphone. Now, this thing controls me. How do I know? Because, like yesterday I was flying from America. I noticed every time there's a pause, everyone takes out their phone and checks it. You're waiting a lot, you check your phone. Somebody asks you a question, you answer. Finishes answer the question, you check your phone. So that's called an addiction. People are addicted to their phones. Now, phones can be very useful. When you're riding on your donkey, it means that everything in technology you will use for exactly what you need and exactly what you want. It does not control you whatsoever. So, Mashiach comes closer, and slowly but surely you start to discern his features. And then you notice that your heart is starting to go and beat faster. And you're starting to get very emotional, and you realize that the cause of the emotion is that you are experiencing two opposite feelings simultaneously. On the one hand, never in your life have you experienced so much awe. Never in your life have you seen a man who's so incredibly inspiring, to the point that his face is shining so much, you feel that you are looking at Moshe Rabbeinu's face underneath the mask. You should know, there's one opinion that says the Mashiach's neshama is even greater than that of Moshe Rabbeinu. So you feel you should not be looking at his face. You want to step back. But at the same time, never in your life have you seen so much beauty in a human face. His eyes are radiating warmth and acceptance. You can just feel that positive energy that this man loves the lowest Jew more than you and I could love the biggest tzaddik, the sweetest child. He radiates acceptance and love for every single Jew, and you want to run towards him and hug him like he was a lost grandfather. So then you suddenly understand, why is it that everyone was so convinced when they saw this man that this is the person we've been waiting for thousands of years? You take out your piece of paper. With every bit of kavanah, you say the words, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech olam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. How lucky am I when millions upon millions of previous generations did not have this opportunity? I'm here to greet the Melech HaMashiach. You see the bracha for a great king for the first time since Melech Hiskiyahu. You see the bracha for a great Torah scholar. You look around you and you thank Hashem for being part of this incredible nation called Klal Yisrael. Statistically, it is impossible to be born Jewish. Statistically, we're all Chinese. But you were born Jewish. And you were born with this incredible nation to bring out Hashem's plan. And you see the bracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, chacham harazim. And then you see that last bracha. But at this point now, you can no longer take it anymore. The tears are coming out of your eyes. And you look around you, everyone is crying, everyone is bawling, but these are not tears of sadness. These are tears of thousands of years of frustration, thousands of years of pain and persecution that is now finally coming to its end. And with a little bit of strength that you still have, with a little bit of emotional power that you still have, you see the bracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Goal Yisrael, who has finally redeemed his people Israel. The procession goes past, and you gather your senses. Before you know it, those young men, the Sadranim, remember those guys with a little white thing? Chevra, Havaita. Okay, everyone go home. Go back to where you come. Go back to Baka, wherever you guys are from. Before you know it, you're back home, and you are rubbing your eyes, trying to figure out, is this or is this not real? Was this a dream? But it was not a dream, ladies, because the next day, you read the newspapers and you cannot believe what you're seeing. Islam, that great nation, the children of Ishmael, who are our greatest enemies today, are the first to embrace the Melech HaMashiach. You can't believe what's going on. You see across the Muslim world, from Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, and Sudan. You see them in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, the Gulf states, Kuwait. You see them in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Indonesia. Over 1 billion Muslims are singing away, Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. He's a heck of a guy. Din, 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 din. Okay, they are just dancing away to Mashiach. Somewhere in a park bench in the Gaza Strip, you see 2 elderly Palestinian women, and they're showing off pictures of the Einiklach, of the grandchildren. Ah, my little Ahmed, look at this Fatima. He's so cute. Maybe one day, how they blow up so quickly. But maybe one day he'll serve the Melech HaMashiach. This is what's happening. Chazal tell us that the first to come home are the children of Ishmael coming back to the house of Avraham Avinu. The good times, Molly, are finally have come, correct? Not so simple. You see, the Bnei Yishmael are happy to come home. But the Bnei Esav, the children of Yitzchak Avinu, who come through Esav, who we call Western civilization and their religion, they are not so fast to embrace the Melech HaMashiach because they've basically been running the show for the last 3,000 years. And the children of Esav are not going to give up without a fight. And we start to notice that right now where we live, there is a huge surge of anti-Semitic incidents. Your neighbors, who you were so friendly with, suddenly they're looking at you with those eyes, those jealous eyes, and one day you wake up to your deepest, darkest nightmare. There has been a revolution in the United States of America. The military has taken over. Congress and the Senate are disbanded. President Biden is given a pair of slippers and sent home. There is a new leader in the United States of America. You look at this man and you cannot look at him. He is the most terrifying human being you've ever seen. He makes Hitler and Stalin look like kindergarten children. He is spewing filth and anti-Semitism, and he's screaming out, "Who will join me? to destroy every single bastion of the Jewish people. Before we know it, there's a revolution in England, in France, in Germany. Russia does not need a revolution. Putin is in. Even the Canadians are sending lumberjacks and maple syrup to Gog's army and his grand coalition called the Magog Coalition. And they have a simple plan with their millions and millions of soldiers. They're going to march to Jerusalem. They're going to find this Mashiach guy. They're going to hang him from a tree. And they're not going to be wimpy like Hitler with gas chambers. They're going to kill and kill and kill and kill and kill until the whole planet is Judenrein. So I want to ask you a simple question. Are you or are you not going to be afraid? What's your name, please?
Simona.
Simona, are you going to be afraid?
Yeah, I'm going to be afraid.
Okay, so I want to tell a secret, Simona. You're not going to be afraid. You know why? Because you're going to hear from me in front of everyone exactly what's going to happen. So take a deep breath and enjoy. The next day, the head of Tzahal, the head of the military Israeli Ministry of Defense, together with the head of the army, they come, they knock on the door of the Melech Mashiach. This is Kvod Harav, Tzahal B'Shutcha. The Israeli army is at your service. And Mashiach says, Habibi, Tegili et hamet, okay? Tell me the truth. How long can the Israeli army last against Gog and Magog? Maybe 20 minutes. He says, okay, anyhow, Zelo Yazor. I'm going to figure this out on my own. What are you going to do? Yeh beseder. Al tefachedi, akol yeh beseder. He gives him a smile and tells him to go home. And then Mashiach goes to the Mir Yeshiva. Where is Rabbi Finkel? The Rosh Yeshiva comes out. What can I do for the Rav? I need your top 10 guys. He says, what for? I need people to fight Gog and Magog. So Rav Finkel literally has to be picked up off the floor. He's laughing so hard. He says, Kvod Harav, I don't mean to be rude, but do you know what my top 10 guys look like? They are pathetic, weedy creatures. They have armpity beards, and they're like small and thin, and their clothes don't fit them. They're constantly thinking in Torah. Those are the ones I want. Mashiach goes on to all the top yeshivas in the country, but not just the top yeshivas. He knows where the good guys are. And very often, young men who people think are average, in Mashiach's eyes, these guys are the creme de la creme. Before he knows it, he has 300 yeshiva bachrim. He gives them guns. Most of them are holding them in the wrong direction. Mashiach says, you guys, no offense, are pathetic. You have to fight Gog and Magog. I'm going to teach you how to use a gun. I need you all to concentrate. When I tell you to shoot, stop thinking about the sugya and focus on the battle. So Mashiach trains them, and before we know it, we witness the greatest chapter in military history. Before we know it, Gog has been killed. Magog has been crushed. Every single anti-Semite is now disappeared from the planet. The next day, the Pope, he takes off his red kippah and he puts on a black kippah. And in front of millions of adoring Catholics, he says, Chevra, we were joking, okay? I hope you didn't take this too seriously. He brings out Justin Bieber. Okay, Justin, I want you to teach everyone 6 words. Teach them the Shema. It's incredible. Everybody is in. And now the hard work is actually going to begin. Because before you know it, you guys are getting phone calls from Mashiach's office, and you are being told that Mashiach wants to speak to you people. What's your name? Abigail from?
From New York.
Originally from what part of New York?
5 towns.
Which one?
Cedars.
Oh my gosh. What's your favorite haunt on Central Avenue?
I don't shop Central.
Okay. Okay, Simona. What did you say your name was again?
Abigail.
Abigail, I'm sorry. Abigail, you're okay, Biden moment. Okay, Abigail gets a letter from the Melech Mashiach, from his office. The Mashiach would like to meet you, whatever, Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Abigail is kind of nervous. What's it going to be like? Kind of awkward that he wants to speak to me. You're not going to like the story. You knock on the door, and Mashiach's wife answers the door, gives her a big smile. Now, I don't know what it is. For some reason, whenever I talk about Mashiach's wife, you guys have like, what? Never thought of that. Because you think Christian, right? You think like Christians. No offense, I don't mean to be rude to you. But obviously he has a wife. Obviously he's a married man with kids. Normal. Like, it's like, duh. So, anyhow. So, Mashiach's wife comes in. Just so you should know, the Mashiach wife is as great as the Melech HaMashiach. Probably as great as a teacher as he is. But, now I hope I'm hitting the right note over here, she also knows how to bake mean chocolate chip cookies. Are you in? Okay, because like she can see you're nervous. She says, well, you're lucky. Because they're straight out of the oven, crunch on the outside, soft and chewy in the middle.
Sounds good.
Hunks of chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay? She gets into it, and then the Rebbitzin says, come on, let's go in to meet my husband. And they walk in. Mashiach has a big smile. I know you're originally from Cedarhurst, right? She goes, yeah, it's my past. Like with emphasis. Okay? I have not hung out behind the docks for ages. Okay, this is my past. So the Melech Mashiach says, I know you're obsessed with Yerushalayim. It's a beautiful thing. But the problem is, what do I do with all these requests? I'm getting from every corner of the world tens of thousands of requests for teachers. I'm sorry about this, but you're going to have to put a pause on your life. Go back to Cedarhurst, because there are young girls your age and younger, and some older, who are dying just to know the basics, the Aleph Beis. They don't know a thing. They don't know their basic Judaism. And you're perfect. You're what we need. So, yeah, the guy's like, oh my gosh, okay, are you serious? He says, yeah. And as she gets up to leave, so the Rebbitzin and the Mashiach look at each other, big smile, and they say, Abigail, come back for one moment. He says, what do you want? He says, well, I don't know if you know this, but since, we both have Ruach HaKodesh, so we also do Shidduchim on the side. We just met this young man. Yeah, you see, you're excited now, okay? We think this could be perfect. Anyhow, okay, this is my low move to get people to be excited about Mashiach by selling him off as a shadchan. Yeah. Anyhow, so Abigail gets up to leave one more time, and Mashiach, this time with a serious face, calls her back and says, listen, Abigail, I want to tell you something. Do you remember when that strange rabbi, Menachem Nissel, came to speak to you at the OU Center? And she goes, yeah, he kind of picked on me. It was very unpleasant. He says, well, do you remember that afterwards you thought about what he said, and you made that decision that the next time you daven, maybe Mariv or tomorrow morning Shacharis, I'm going to underline the words, Ki l'shuascha kivinu kol hayom. I'm going to underline those words. I'm going to say them with real kavana, as if I'm saying this for the very first time. Mashiach, I need you to come. You are central to my existence. So Abigail says, yeah, I actually had a very intense prayer. I remember that. So Mashiach said, I want to thank you. Because that was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back of thousands of years of tefillos. And because of that davening, Hashem said, Menachem, that's his name, okay, you can go now. Full disclosure, it's not me. So the hard work begins. Everyone in this room finds themselves teachers, because everyone is so thirsty. Kimol haaretz de'es Hashem tzama nafshi. Right, my soul is thirsty, not for bread, and not for water, and not for feasting, and not for traveling. I need to know truth. I want to learn Torah. That's what everyone wants. Jews, non-Jews, across the planet. And Mashiach's going as fast as he can, trying to get those teachers out to teach Torah. Meanwhile, some of you, I don't know what you guys do professionally, some of your moms or some of your dads are getting phone calls from Mashiach's office that they need help in the huge, great third Beis HaMikdash project. It's not going to be an ordinary Beis HaMikdash. This is going to dwarf any other building that's ever been in grandeur and in beauty, and I may add, in technology. Go Melech HaMashiach's office. You don't just bring a carbon. So you guys just download the Mashiach app, But us old fogies, we still have to dial 1-800 Beis HaMikdash and get the answering machine that goes like this. Hello, you have reached the Beis HaMikdash. If you'd like to bring an Ola, press 1. If you'd like to bring a Shlamim, press 2. If you'd like to bring a Chatos, naughty, and you press 3. So this is what's happening. This is really wild. If you'd like to accuse your wife of being a sota, no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so this is all so intense. Everyone is now working on themselves. Everyone is trying to be kind to each other, working on their midos. Every person who can, is just doing whatever they can to make the world a better place. It's filtering outside the Jewish nation. The nations of the world are making peace with each other. Slowly but surely, every army is disbanding and turning their military hardware into agricultural hardware. The police don't have much left to do, except, speeding tickets for yeshiva bachrim. And then the Melech Mashiach makes the weirdest announcement. He says, Rabbi Isai, ladies and gentlemen, the internet is now completely Mashiach approved. No filters needed, Molly, no filters. Everything is completely and totally Mashiach approved. So you can't really believe in this. He's also telling you can, cable TV is now Mashiach cable TV. You rush to the nearest friend that has one of these big, cable TVs, and you switch it on. Immediately a center comes out and figures out that you're female and directs you to female Mashiach TV, and you cannot believe what you're watching. Oh my gosh, okay? MTV, Mashiach television station, is playing. Adele has changed her name to Adel, and she's singing Shalom Aleichem from the other side. And this is like, Billie Eilish, like now it's Bela Eilish, is singing like Bad Bacher. Megan Thee Stallion has decided that it's appropriate to change her name to Megan the Gefilte Fish. And she, together with Brandy Spears, are singing songs about sneers. This is what's going on over here. This is insane. Meanwhile, your brothers are watching like the guys, and there you see all the rappers, or whatever, they're rapping Mishnayos. This is so cool. Like Drake is going like, this is so cool. And then your moms are watching, Rebbetzin Gaga is giving like shaitel advice about the latest shaitel design. And it's so beautiful. Reality shows. Shidduch Island. We took the top 5 Bachrim from BMG, Lakewood Yeshiva. We dropped them on a Caribbean island. Unbeknownst to them, there are shadchanim lurking behind the trees. The first one to stay single wins the big prize. All these things are happening in front of our. This is so beautiful. Movies are such fun, Ashes Chayil is the new name of Wonder Woman, and she is just saving the world, one gefilte fish at a time. The world has become so much fun, and everyone is wearing their trendy Batznias clothing, and shopping malls are just like Mashiach approved. Well, guess what? As we are getting kinder, and as we are getting nicer to each other, and as the Torah is flooding itself with Torah wisdom and Torah knowledge, the world slowly but surely goes back to the way it was in the times of the Garden of Eden before the Chet of Adam and Chava. How do you know? Well, the first thing that happens is that you notice when you go the groceries, when mom comes back from Kroger's, whatever it is, and says, you have no idea what's going on over here. He said, everything tastes different. Everything tastes literally heavenly. Nothing needs chemicals anymore. Actually, pharmaceutical companies are making perfumes all from nature itself that literally smell like the basam of the Beis HaMikdash. Doctors have all become redundant. I apologize for those in the room who are in the medical field. We don't need you anymore. But it doesn't make a difference because anyhow, you have no time to do medical stuff, more time to spend in Kolo. And this is great. This is incredible because everyone looks great. Everyone feels great. Clearasil goes bankrupt. Everyone has perfect face, has a perfect complexion. We're all supermodels. And everyone is perfectly healthy. Like at Har Sinai, the blind can see, the crippled can walk. And for those of you who know, my granddaughter, Princess Khani, who is an Instagram model, and you should follow her, and she has an extra chromosome. They call it Down syndrome. But her extra chromosome is removed, and we get to see the real Khani. All these things will happen when Mashiach comes. Everyone will be in perfect health, and the world will go back to its pristine beauty the way it was in the times of Adam and Eve. Mashiach strongly encourages, being as one in vacation time, go and see the world. Go on Mashiach eco tours. Go to the Amazon. Now I know I have to, today, nowadays you have to add. The Amazon is actually a place on the planet. It's a rainforest. Yeah. And when you get attacked by a jaguar, I don't mean the car, but don't worry. If you're attacked by a jaguar, that jaguar is going to jump in you and give you a big hug, because no longer are animals antagonistic with human beings. All they see is your beautiful Tzelem Elokim. So the world has become beautiful. And humanity has now reached this sixth dimension, as I mentioned earlier, of seeing the world in its true, pristine beauty. And then we start to feel two things simultaneously. Number one, life has become undesirable. What does it mean undesirable? Not the Torah that we're learning, that's great. But without challenges, it's so hard to find meaning in life. Without battles to conquer, what's going to be? It's it. You know, Voldemort is dead. The Sultan is gone. So what's going to happen now? There is no book 8. It doesn't happen. They're going to have to do prequels. So this is how the world is looking today. Shlomo Melech called it Yamim Ashe'im Behem Chefetz, days to which I have no desire, the Ramban explains, because without Bechir, without free choice, there's no challenges in life. And then, simultaneously, something else happens. People who have lost loved ones, people who have buried loved ones, start to feel that those people are coming back. But not just coming back in a way as if they never died, as if death was an illusion, as if when you buried them, you didn't really bury them, but rather you planted them. Melech Memis Umachaya Umatzmiach Yeshua. That's how you feel. And Mashiach gets up and he says, I'd like to give my farewell speech. Not because there's any problems, on the contrary, everything is perfect. I'm just not needed anymore. For those of you that have felt close to loved ones, in Harry Potter language, the ones that can see the thestrals, if you feel reconnect to them, you should know they're coming back. For those of you that feel that life has lost challenges, well, you should know that we're now entering into a new phase of God's world. Shabbos was a taste of it, but now you're going to have the real thing, the real pleasure, Kol Olam Haba. A world of increasing beauty, of everlasting pleasure that gets better and better and better as we all become closer and closer to Hashem. What will it be like? Like I mentioned with Chacham Arazim, each one of you has a story to tell. Mashiach's going to help you bring out your story to its perfection. You are going to be, in the words of the Zohar, like a musical instrument, each one playing your soul instrument. So Avigal is obviously like a drummer, you can tell. Okay, we have over here a few, violin players, a couple of saxophones, a harp, maybe a triangle, ding, ding, whatever it may be. Each one of you has your soul instrument, but Mashiach doesn't just teach you your instrument. Mashiach teaches you to play it to perfection in harmony with everyone else. In this room alone, we could make beautiful music. Imagine the whole of Yerushalayim. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. The whole world is playing in harmony. Every single city, every single tribe, every single nation. At some point, you can hear the music of the animals. And if you realize it, but the Pirkei Shira tells us that the chirping of the birds is actually music. And we'll get to hear them. You know what? You'll start to hear the music of all of nature. As the Gemara in Sukkot brings down, the music of the palm trees. They too are singing to Hashem. Eventually you can hear the music of every single blade of grass, every drop of sand in the desert. and all the heavenly music that is coming out from the planets. The name of that symphony is Hashem Echad. The conductor will ultimately be revealed to be Hashem himself. The Melech Mashiach, like Moshe Rabbeinu, was just his messenger. And at that moment, the world transforms into the stage that no one has seen and no one has described, which is called the world to come. And with that, my esteemed ladies, my story comes to an end. But not really. Because the big question that remains to be asked is, who is going to be the Avigail of my story? Who's going to be the one to actually, when this class is over, take out a siddur, actually underline the words, Ki l'shuasa kivina kol yom, and try, at least once, to honor this class, to try and say those words with real feeling, with real emotion. The world that we live in is an impossible world. The world we live in, there's too much pain, there's too much anxiety, there's too many tsaras in every single person's backyard. And Mashiach is not just going to fix it for us, he's going to fix it for all of humanity, and ultimately Hashem's will of this perfected world of pleasure, he will bring to reality. What's left is our desire to make it happen. And I promise you that when it does happen, whatever I could describe to you in the last 45 minutes, it's going to be millions of times more beautiful. But you have to step up to the plate. And that is both my request to you and my blessing to you, that ladies like yourselves, and if it's not people like you, who's it going to be, should find that in their heart to really daven Kil Shuas Kivina Kol Yom. And in your schos, Mashiach will finally come, and the good times will finally roll forever and ever. Thank you for listening. Okay, I will take questions.